So, you remember back in the 80s and 90s when the popularity of horror slashers were at a fever pitch, right? Back when characters were so one-dimensional, stupid, and unlikable that when they died, you really didn't give a shit. As a matter of fact, that formula was used so often that it quickly became a laughable cliche of the genre, and filmmakers generally stopped doing it, not just because it was clear audience manipulation, but also because it's a cheap, lazy, contrived form of writing. Well, can someone call and tell Alien Earth's director Noah Hawley that, because he really needs to hear it. And truly, that's pretty much what episode 5 of Alien Earth is. It's an entire hour of watching a bunch of clueless morons make the most ridiculous, senseless, idiotic, contrived decisions I've ever seen, never seeming to take anything seriously, opting to joke around and talk about their sex lives, with performances ranging from so wooden that they make Rachel Zegler look like Katharine Hepburn to being too damn good for this show in the first place. Oh, Babu Sise, I hope this show doesn't derail your career, man. You deserve better than this shit. Just, ugh. Alien Earth, episode 5. Let's talk about it.
Say what again? Say what again? Say what again? Say what again?
Now, before we get into the nitty-gritty of this episode, I'd like to remind everyone that any and everything I have to say is open to interpretation, and you're allowed to share your own thoughts, alright? Even if you agree or disagree with what I have to say. Moderation is off. I'm not going to hold or delete anything, and I'll respond to everyone, no questions asked. Risky, I know, but I'll try anything 9 times.
Ha! Gay!
So first and foremost, I gotta give credit where credit is due here, because a major point of contention with me in the show has been a lack of the xenomorph and the new creatures in general. Episode 5 takes some huge strides in that department, because we get to see the face huggers, the vampire centipedes, the asshole eyeball octopus, a small glimpse of the alien penis flower thing, and towards the end, a fully matured xenomorph.
Hey, come on, baby! Come on! Yes! Come on! Ah!
Not only that, but a lot of familiar story beats, settings, and tones line up with how an alien show should feel. Something that's fell by the wayside and replaced by discount Timothée Chalamet and his shitty corporate politics in the past few episodes. So, for what it's worth, it did feel nice to kinda return to form, as it were. There was some genuine moments of tension in episode 5. There was an overarching feeling of wondering what's gonna happen, where it's going to happen, and who is it gonna happen to, which is a hallmark of the earlier works in the franchise. But even with this crumb of success, Disney still somehow made this one of the most frustrating hours of television.
Oh, come on!
Because in order to make everything I just mentioned happen, the crew of the Magonaut had to act like a group of low-functioning retards who I wouldn't even trust to open a jar of peanut butter, let alone helm a top-secret scientific mission.
Boy, that escalated quickly.
I mean, seriously, how fucking stupid and careless are these people? The events that transpire on the Magonaut aren't some twisted stroke of fate. They're literally put into motion by sheer dumbassery.
That is one big pile of shit.
Like, what kind of scientist just leaves an open container in a highly volatile containment facility? Why does that same scientist not make sure all the containers are secured? Not only once when the vampire centipede thing manages to unlatch its container and escape, but again just a few moments later when she didn't even secure the asshole eyeball octopus inside its container on the wall. Do they not have like any form of SOP? As a matter of fact, why didn't an alarm go off when the asshole eyeball octopus managed to escape from its confinement? Just don't think about it. Or how about a bit later, when the mechanic who looks like he got his hair cut by a toddler with Play-Doh scissors suddenly collapses on the ground after vomiting up blood? Now, one would think, since there's an obvious alien threat on board and crew members are dying left and right, that the mechanic with the Play-Doh haircut would be placed into a secure room, and the crew would take every precaution they know while observing him. Nope, they do the polar opposite of that. These fucking idiots decide to cut the guy open with no mask, no protection, no sterilization, and end up dying when green gas explodes out of his body.
Really?
How did the green gas get there? Just don't think about it. For fuck's sake, I firmly believe the Magonaut didn't even need to be sabotaged. These absolute fucking retards would have found a way to get killed all by themselves.
He's out of line, but he's right.
Oh yeah, the sabotage. So all this is sprung by the chief engineer of the ship, who's been paid off by discount Timothy Chalamet to make sure the Magonaut never makes it back to Weyland-Yutani, and instead crash lands in the Prodigy City. How do we learn this? Well, apparently the chief engineer had a nice long video chat with discount Timothy Chalamet while aboard the ship. Yeah. Okay. As chief engineer, you should have known that any and all inbound and outbound messages are going to be recorded, and they can be viewed by the head of security at any point. So how exactly did you think you were going to get away with this in the first place? Just don't think about it. This whole episode just feels forced and contrived, making characters do things that nobody with an IQ above room temperature would ever do in an attempt to imitate the events of the original films, but having nowhere near the writing talent in order to succeed. Also, what was this episode's obsession with who's fucking who? For Christ's sakes, the episode opens up with a little Aladdin looking guy talking about who he's fucking, and then not even 5 minutes later, there's a storyline that serves no purpose other than just to take up time about the interim captain lady screwing around with the engineer guy. Who gives a fuck? They're all aboard this ship for years on end. This shit is bound to happen. We don't need 10 whole minutes of conversation about it. We've already seen that they're all gonna die anyway. Now that I'm thinking about it, how come nobody is taking any of this shit seriously? You're just standing there talking about sex, smoking, and joking while two of your crewmates, two of your friends are laying there on the table either dying or dead already.
Are you retarded?
Simply put, episode 5 is easily the best episode of Alien Earth we've gotten so far, but that's not saying too much, now is it? At the end of the day, even the shiniest turd in the turd pile is still a turd. And just like Star Wars, Marvel, Willow, and Indiana Jones, Disney is slowly but surely destroying a beloved franchise quicker than Ridley Scott ever could. No, Ridley, we haven't forgotten about Prometheus and Alien Covenant, but at this point, I think I'd rather watch those than whatever the hell this is supposed to be. Anyway, I appreciate y'all for checking out my review. I'll talk to y'all later.